What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 2 of Ghosts Aren't Real, a podcast where we dive into the paranormal, our thoughts about it, and our experiences with it. Today, we're going to be checking out part 2 of us discussing our Sallie House investigation. Let's talk some about like the trip, like driving back. And like some of the thoughts we had and like conclusions we were drawing.
So we left probably right after 4 a.m. Got back in Springfield at like 7:30 maybe.
I don't remember.
Yeah, we can talk about that in a second too. Yeah, we left and really, I think we made this conclusion. We were in the Kansas side because I remember when we were driving through downtown Kansas City, I was already starting to fall asleep. So we had more or less finished talking about the house after, like in between Atchison and in North Kansas City. That was a cool conversation because we were debriefing about everything that just happened and we were processing it. And like we said earlier, like that was the peak of our inability to process live time, real time. You know? So being able to process it while we were leaving was crazy. It was really cool. The talks we had on the ride back. What were some of the quote unquote conclusions that we drew?
I was just thinking about that because I was like, man, we should mention what some of those were. But to be honest, I'm having a hard time remembering specifically what a lot of them were. But I think I honestly don't really remember too many.
That's fine. There was really, I don't remember a lot of the different ones, but there was one overarching theme that we came to, and that it was whatever's there was trying to get us to go to the basement.
Yes, that was
like
it.
Almost the whole night.
Oh yeah, because we kept like looking at like thinking back on like things that had happened.
Because like, I mean, the whole night. When we first got there, the first thing he did was open the basement door.
Mm-hmm.
The REM pod only went off in front of the basement door, which we can talk about the REM pod in another episode. But even still, the coincidence of that is just...
It was the one place we weren't going.
Yeah, the one place we weren't going. And we said that, I'm getting chills. We said it verbally the entire night. It's like, we're not going to go in the basement.
Oh, don't worry, we're not going to go down there.
Yeah, exactly. And this may be completely out of nowhere and have no correlation to anything. But in Sam and Colby's video, when they were there with the medium and her brother in the upstairs master bedroom, the medium started to feel really bad. And she thought she saw something run down the stairs and like went to the basement door. And then that's when they went into the basement. So it was like they were in the master bedroom. She looked over and saw like a face in the stairwell in the banister rings or whatever. It ran downstairs, ran into the kitchen, ran into the basement. Obviously being like the kid spirits in the Conjuring house were like, oh, come get me. You're going to chase me. Like that type of thing. So that was...
I think I do remember that.
Interesting.
I remember, I think, mentioning like... This started at the Weaver house where I think I told you during one of the Estes sessions, since nothing was happening, I was getting to a point where I was like, I'm just going to like open up.
Yeah.
And I think the conclusion that I was drawing to after the Sallie House was, I think whatever was there was like not doing anything because it wanted us to open up. We wanted it to do something, so we were going to be willing to like open ourselves up more to have it do something because we wanted it to do something, and like we weren't.
Because like in all reality, nothing happened. The entire trip there, the only thing that happened are the lines that were connecting that may or may not be there from all of the spirit box usage.
Yeah, which
like is subjective, but like objectively nothing was happening that entire night.
Like
K2 went off twice, REM pod went off once.
Yeah.
For 8 hours, you know? So that was like the first conclusion was that
conclusion.
That was the first conclusion was that it was purposely not doing anything because it wanted us to go to the basement where it would do things.
Yeah, do what?
And then when it was like, okay, and this you know this. When it was like, okay, these guys aren't going in the basement, that ticks me off. Then it started latching itself onto me, making my head hurt. and scratched me.
Yes, there's the word.
So we left a little after 4 o'clock. Carmichael is the cutest, baddest little cat.
He's not fat.
He's not fat. I didn't say fat.
Husky.
I had to get husky clothes when I was like 11, 12, 13. I had
Were you
to
a
get
big
husky.
11, 12, 13 kid?
I was a chonker. Anyways.
The scratch.
Yeah, we left the Sallie House a little after 4.
This was we got home. We got home to Springfield.
We got home to Springfield. It was like 7:30. He dropped me off at my apartment. Jessica was like, "Why are you home?" Because she didn't think we were going to be. Because I told her, "It's like, hey, we have this house until 12. We'll be home at like 4."
Yeah.
So we got home at 7:30. She had like just woken up and was making coffee or whatever. She was like, "Why are you home?" And I didn't really talk to her. I was just like, "Yeah, we came home early. I'm tired." So I literally showered and got in bed. And at like the very last thing I thought of, I got in bed. It's daylight out, and I was like, "All right, have fun at church, Jess. I'll see you in a little bit." And I immediately opened my eyes and I was like, "Can you come look at my back?" I have no idea why that thought popped in my head. Like I literally laid down in bed. I was like, "Oh, actually, can you come take a look at my back and just see?" I have no idea what prompted me to ask that question. But she was like, she didn't say a word, but she like traced with her finger on my back. And I was like, "What?" She's like, you got a scratch." And she took a picture of it and we put it in the video.
Yeah. I
still have the picture on my phone. I look at it every now and then.
Yeah.
Because it's so crazy. And it's one of those things that like, it was a personal experience. Do with whatever you want to with whatever. Like, I don't really care if you believe it or not because it doesn't matter. And that's what we've talked about this entire time with all this stuff. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're doing this obviously because we want people to watch. We want to get popular with this stuff. But like, when it comes down to it, our intentions of doing this are purely selfish.
Yeah. Like I want to
see something.
Yeah.
And I don't care if anyone else sees it. I want to see it.
Cameras off. Who cares? Like,
exactly.
It would suck, but yeah, that's why.
And this scratch is one of those things. It's personal, obviously, personal for us too. But like, it's unbelievable.
Getting that picture from you, I don't remember what you said before. Maybe you just sent the picture, but getting that picture, I was like, what?
And like
I was kind of like, what? Got kind of tired, but like that woke me up. I was like, what is this?
Since then, even still, like last night when I was preparing for this, I went back and retraced like everything.
Yeah.
That could have made a mark on my back. So for the Sallie House video, I was wearing my wardrobe pants are from Target. My shoes are from Kohl's. $240 for the shirt. I was wearing a long sleeve dry fit shirt, a t-shirt over that, and a hoodie the entire night. I took off my hoodie at one point because I got like really hot for a second and then put it back on because I got really cold. And that was at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was wearing three layers of clothes the entire night.
Yeah.
Even if I rubbed up against something that could have made that mark on my back would have like
ripped your shirt,
ripped my shirt easily. And I was like, even thinking like I even like got in and out of your car multiple times
a lot
over like the summer just to be like, did I scratch on that like square hook that the door latch is
onto?
Not even
sharp.
Not even sharp. And I was like, okay, so like I took a shower when I got home. Is there anything that could have scratched me in the shower? Is there anything that could have scratched me like when I got out of the shower, got in bed? Is like,
could you have done that?
Like the way it was contorted, it's like it's so far up my back that I would not be able to draw a line from the beginning to the end without stopping.
And press that hard to scratch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cause like it's so crazy too, because it's like very hard the first little bit, and then you can clearly see where it's like you dive in and then
it was like it took a lot of energy to do it, and
yeah.
It was like losing energy.
And again, that's another one of those things where like in that adrenaline peak, I'm like, that's crazy. I got scratched. And then like when that peak died down, I was like, that could have been anything. And then I sit myself down and force myself to think about, okay, realistically, what could have scratched me?
Yeah.
I don't have an answer.
And he's like, you would have noticed that if you like felt it happen from something doing it, you would have like probably
it would have
noticed.
hurt. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it would have hurt. It would have burned. Like something would have happened. And another thing, I think we've talked about this, but not a lot. So we got back at like 7:30. I woke up at like noon to go get lunch with Sydney and Jessica and Leah. You weren't there. Maybe you were there at Panera on East.
I was probably asleep.
Battlefield. Interesting. I woke up, it was like noon, so I slept for 4.5 hours, 4 hours. Scratch was gone. Completely. Like not even a little bit of it was there. So like the fact that it was gone in a 4-hour span means it had to have happened
earlier
in the night. And it couldn't have happened when I got in and out of the car in the shower. It was like when I started to feel bad at like 11, 10, 12, 3, 1, 2, 4. I said 11, 10, 12, and then I made fun of myself.
Yeah, I know what you did. It just don't know. It's tough to say it is one thing when we just don't know. So I get that feeling. I remember getting it. I remember I got naked and I was in that bathroom right there. And I was like looking all over the place because I couldn't have like Carmichael come and like check me out or anything. But I was like checking my back and I was like looking all over and I didn't see any scratches. I was fully expecting to see like something down my back and nothing. And I got to really inspect myself in the nude. Anyway, that scratch was...
And like I've talked to a couple people about it and like I've shown a couple people and their response has just been like, oh, wow, that's crazy.
That's
and like,
interesting.
Even Jessica, we don't talk about it a whole lot. Like I'm like, I've asked her before, I was like, hey, do you think that something scratched me? And she's like, yeah. And like she genuinely means that, but like we don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it like freaks her out. She mentioned one time that it's kind of freaky to think about, but like it's like when you show it, you have a funny video and you show a friend and they don't laugh and you're like, what the heck? Why aren't you laughing? It's like that's the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. And like the other people that I've shown it to, I like want their response to be like, oh my gosh,
but they're just kind of like, oh.
They're just like, oh wow, because this is such a weird thing.
Yeah, you say, hey, there's a possibility I got scratched by some like demonic thing. People are like, was that English? So I think that leads into a little bit of the stuff that we noticed when we went to edit the video, which I think I still agree.
Primarily, sorry.
No, yes, you're good. I still agree with our conclusion that we've come to with this video experience. But I think the biggest thing we noticed was the spirit box and all the responses we were getting. And
I mean, that's a solid, like, to quantify it, like 90% of the video.
Yeah.
because literally nothing else happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was some like other little stuff that popped up, but like we were able to debunk it, with the exception of the K2, obviously, in the spirit box. But even then, that's like 3 minutes at most of runtime in the video.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit box was definitely like, yeah, like an easy majority of what we were able to see during the editing process.
I think, what was like the weirdest response to you that you saw or heard? You didn't see a response, you heard one.
There's two of them. The second one is, I'm touching them. The first one, wait, is this? Yeah, this was the Sallie House. The I'm a go scare one.
Yeah. Yeah, you say those exactly how they sound.
Because I'm not even kidding to you. I know Payton edits everything. I do nothing.
You literally give me all the good suggestions.
And all of the bad ones too.
Oh my god!
I just give you suggestions. You've listened to that a million times. I can't tell you how many times I listen to that.
No wonder it has 2,000 views.
I just like I'm a go scare one. Touching them?
Yeah.
I'm a go scare one.
Touching them?
3 different radio stations.
I'm so glad we started like prefacing our sessions that we do with what time it is. Because I wish I knew what time that was. Because it was It was, I mean, after that, we like sat around we spent a lot of time like sitting too, like, and just like talking about our thoughts and things.
So that's another thing I think we're really good at is like, is real time decompressing and not debriefing, but like taking a break in between sessions. Because,
like what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was probably like,
I want to say it was
midnight, 12:30.
I wanted to say it was midnight or before.
I think it was midnight, because if we took a break after that, we started the spirit box at like 1:30, did that until 2, took a break for an hour, came back. Yeah. Probably it was around midnight. Round midnight. That's a Duke Ellington.
I know what you're talking. Yeah.
Not Duke Ellington. Yeah, you do. Do you?
It's a standard. I have no idea.
It's a jazz song.
Yeah,
round midnight.
A standard. Are you gonna look it up? While you're doing that,
Thelonious Monk.
Oh.
Wait, is he the bass player? Yeah, Thelonious Monk is the bass player, because the piano player is another weird name. This is why we need to have a guy in the room that does this stuff for us. You know what I'm saying?
I'm skipping this part. The one that stuck out to me was we heard the name Will, and then you were like, is your name Will? If your name is Will, can you say William? And then later on, it says William, or however it does it. And it's like, it did what we asked.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't notice it. Which we'll talk about. But that one stuck out to me the most. Obviously, like the biggest one that was like aggressive was a you know now.
Yeah.
Which it was funny to hear that and like literally replay over and over and over and over again. Is this saying what we're hearing? Like,
what was, I wish I wrote it down, but like, what was the question we asked right before that? Because it was like, what's your name or something like that? It was something like, what is this? And the answer was, you know now.
Yeah. I think we asked like, what's your name or something? Or like, I can't remember exactly.
It was something like, I wish I would have wrote it down. But like, that's why that response is so impactful, because it's like, we asked it a question and it was like, these
and it was like
flipping guys.
It was like searching for the words
now,
too.
Yeah.
It was like, you know.
Now. Yeah.
Bunt. I said bunt like in baseball. I think that one sticks out. The scratching them or whatever. Yeah, that one.
I'm touching him.
I'm gonna go scare one. It's just us redoing it over and over again. I think we got the conclusion we got of our experience there once we like finished the video. Because didn't we add?
We put a little thing at the end. Excuse me. We put a thing at the end that said, we believe we encountered a demon, or we believe that whatever was there was attacking Levi. We believe that we encountered a demon.
Yeah, and that we left at the right time.
We left it there. Yeah, that's.
We didn't really elaborate what that meant, but like what that means, just the general explanation is that we think, at least this is how I look at it. I definitely think we were being like protected and watched over that night, and we weren't noticing things. Not necessarily because we just weren't noticing them, but because they were like being shielded from us noticing them, because being in the mindset of before going to this house, I'm going to ask this thing to scratch me because I want to see if it will. And then going there and not seeing anything, like I could only imagine getting just like a little something that was like, oh my gosh. And then like opening up to try to get more. And like, I was being like, stopped. I was being stopped and held back from doing that because it would have been dangerous.
I definitely think that if we were to stay there longer,
we were about to do the most vulnerable part of the investigation.
Yeah, like I get chills thinking about that. I can't even think about what bad things could have happened if we did the alone investigations, and like. We might have ended up in the basement. We might have ended up to the feeling that I felt at the wheeler hole of like getting pissed off. I'm about to do something. It's like, fine, we're not getting anything or blah, 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 blah. Let's just go to the basement. And we go to the basement and like are just wrecked.
We could have been like, okay, we're going to go alone. We need to like nothing's happening. Let's see, like, let's try something different.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
one person go to the basement, one person go upstairs or something. Not that that's necessarily like dangerous or like it would have done anything, but like I think it's less about what was there and more about how we are opening ourselves up and how far we were willing to maybe like just take it. Because if a demon or something has access to somebody who's open to it, essentially, then I think that's when things can maybe get a little weird. In the book, Deborah is being deceived into thinking that this thing is this little girl who's just like wants a mom, wants a family. And so she's like opening up to it and like talking to it and asking it questions and like giving it things and like getting mad at her husband for like not believing it or getting mad at, in quotes, Sallie. And so I think that's what it was wanting us to do, was to open up. And so that's why we put what we put at the end of the video.
And it's crazy too, going back and reading Deborah Pickman's stories, because like she like really like to the highest extent was being manipulated. Because you go back and you read some of this stuff, you know, after Tony was talking about all the things that were happening to him, how he was being scratched, how he was bleeding profusely from scratches, yanked out of bed, thrown downstairs, through
The weird dreams.
Yeah,
Oh,
the weird, yeah. The things that we can probably won't be able to have on YouTube or Spotify.
What?
Like you can't say some things on YouTube, you know, it's like you can't say the S word, or you can't say threw a bleep into the bleeping machine and turned it on.
I'm not following
The
necessarily.
vacuum.
Yeah, the
In the
kitten.
dryer, yeah.
The kitten was in the dryer.
Yeah. And it died.
Yeah. I hugged him after reading that.
You can't say that on YouTube. Anyways. Hearing some of the things that Deborah was just like okay hearing Tony say. Like Tony was telling her all these stories about how, and he was like showing her like, hey, I got scratched, all this stuff happened. And Deborah was like, man, Sallie had a bad day. You know, it's like,
yeah. She doesn't know.
Sallie was just, you know, she was just angry. I'm going to put her in a timeout. Or she'd like light the candles and be like, oh, Sallie, you can't do that. And just put her in timeout. It's like, how in the world, like reading that, how in the world is Deborah so calm about that? You know, and Tony's like freaking out. He's like, yo, like, this is not good. And Deborah's just like, nah, Sallie she's just throwing a fit because we were gone for a week.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Nope.
She was being manipulated hardcore. So
Yeah.
like I can't even imagine the excuses I guess we would give some things to make our night continue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And speaking about the basement in particular, we've talked about this too, where that being the third video we've ever filmed, how we're such amateurs with this and rookies. I think it took a while to talk about this, like to get the words correct from when you and I were talking about this, but like you don't put your rookie quarterback in to start a playoff game when you have the option to start your veteran. You know, it's like, it's just ill-advised. Like, could work, you never know. But like, there's so many things that could go wrong because he's so inexperienced with this that it's just not a good idea. There are so many things that could have gone wrong if we went in the basement because we were so inexperienced with this. It was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like, we are obviously Christians. We're obviously strong in our faith, and we've been Christians for a long time. But like, there's being Christians and there's actively talking to demons.
Yeah.
Intentionally, actively speaking and trying to open a line of communication with demonic entities.
That's not necessarily in most people's gifts.
Right. So like, it was ill-advised. Bad idea. We shouldn't have done it. We didn't do it. I think that's good.
Yeah.
And even like going back to what you said about if we were to stay there, and you know, who knows what would have happened if we just stayed there longer. That's another thing about demons, is that they're not all knowing, which is calming.
Yeah.
But they feed off of, they can read you. like how you're acting and how you're saying things, they know essentially how you're thinking. They don't know what you're thinking, but they know how you're thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
They can read people and they're like, okay, this guy's acting this certain way. So that means he's probably thinking about this. And like going back and watching the video, outwardly, I was very different. So I think that is probably why I got worse throughout the night. But just to repeat what we've already said, if we stayed there's an infinite number of things that could have happened, good or bad. It could have been good and everything could have been fine, or we could have just completely gotten wrecked and never done any of this stuff ever again.
Yeah.
Because after we released that video, the Sallie House video, we went to the Sallie House.
Did we go to the Sallie House?
We go back on YouTube and the footage is just corrupted. It doesn't exist.
Oh my gosh.
After we released that video, I had friends from home that I had not like consistently spoken to in a long time that were like, hey, you shouldn't be doing this stuff. And there was one person in particular, they were like, hey, one of my friends from high school went to the Sallie House a lot and he spent a lot of time there and it really messed him up. And I'm worried that stuff is going to happen to you. So I just want to say, watch out because this stuff is crazy. And that was like after the peak of my okay, I calmed down, started to draw realistic conclusions of stuff. They were like, hey, be careful, essentially. I mean, they were a little bit more, what's the word? Like, not harsh, but like, they were just like, hey, this isn't a good idea. This guy that I know I'm really good friends with, he got effed up because he had stayed in that house for a lot of nights. And like, I know the person that he's referring to and I've known him for a while. And I've always known that he's been like, he's like weird. Not in like, I hate to say somebody's weird, but like, he's outwardly like very different.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any reactions from people that saw it and were like, hey, you shouldn't be doing this stuff?
I don't think I received any after this video. I don't think let me make that a statement. After this one came out, I haven't received any, I don't remember receiving any like pushback from anybody being like, hey, you probably shouldn't do that. I got a lot of people like interested, like, oh, like you did that. How was that? Like, did anything happen? I was like, well, yeah. Did you read the title of the video?
The first word.
Stuff happened. Hung out with like the coolest dude in Springfield and talked about cows. But yeah, nobody really said anything about that. I do remember my mom, my beautiful mother, wouldn't watch the trailer.
Really?
Yeah. She deleted the picture of Sallie off of her phone that I sent to her and my dad because it scared her so much. She doesn't really like that I do this. She does not think that I should do it. She thinks that she's like, that's something I don't want to mess with because I don't know anything about it. And I don't think you should do it because it's like, you don't know what you're messing with. And that's true.
She's not wrong. Yeah.
That's true to an extent. I don't know exactly what I'm messing with. I know what's the most powerful, but yeah, I don't know what I'm messing with. And so, I mean, I agree to her to an extent also. But yeah, I think she's the biggest one that's given me any sort of pushback. My dad's like, oh, that's cool. And I've had people like from church who I fully expected to be like, hey, you need to like not do this. Be like, oh, okay, about it. Granted, I've never had super deep conversations with many people about it. Maybe because I'm deep down trying to avoid people pushing me back. Be like, hey, you shouldn't do this. But yeah, I didn't. That was pretty much it.
Outside from those couple friends that were saying that, hey, like you really shouldn't be doing this stuff. I had a lot of my family was just like, they were like, oh, that's really cool. What in the world? This is, they were super supportive.
Yeah.
And one of my brothers was like, he didn't like sit me down, but like we were like at the dinner table talking, and then he like looked at me and was like, okay, Levi, this YouTube thing, like, are you messing with me? Like, is this something that you're like joking around with? I'm like, this is 100% like real stuff that we're putting out. We have not exaggerated I mean, we've exaggerated, but like we haven't like directly like manipulated anything, you know? There's that. My favorite reaction is one of my coworkers when they first heard that we do paranormal investigating stuff. They were like, "Oh wow, that's awesome! Have you been to the Sallie House?" Or they were like, "Have you heard of the Sallie House?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes."
You're making the thumbnail face. Yeah, that's it. That's funny.
So yeah, that's been super cool. And like I'm prideful of this stuff. Like this is, again, we've talked about our reasons for doing this, and they're selfish in a good way. Like we want answers. We want direct, confirmation of this stuff. But like, again, something that comes with that is like the popularity and recognition and stuff, and like doing something that you're proud of doing something that you're proud to show other people that you did, which I know a lot of people do, but like, I think a lot of people get caught up in, this is a generalization not backed by data, but like people get caught up in wanting to do something and they don't do it. But when they do it and they get like recognition from it, like they're proud of it. It's like, it's something that you want to do. It's hard to do. It's costly financially, time-wise, all this other stuff. Like we did it. And like we released a video of it. We're doing other stuff too. I'm proud of it. It's a really cool thing, even though it's dumb and this stuff probably isn't even any real in the first place, but it's still like, this is a cool thing. You know?
And you say that, and normally if you say the word like ghost hunter, which I don't really care for that one,
I don't
but
use that term.
Paranormal investigator, people's ears perk up. They're like, what?
It's different.
Yes. And I think back to Nate, where he said he was like, yeah, you'll be talking to somebody and be like, yeah, I had a ghost in my house when I grew up. It's like everybody has some sort of thought about.
Everybody has a thought about it, yeah.
Ghosts or paranormal or demons or whatever. Some are like, oh, it's total baloney. Some are like, oh, like I knew this, or like this happened to me. Like my mom had something happen to her where she'd like seen like spirits before.
For like for a while. In the post-game lobby of Call of Duty, your mics get turned on for the entire lobby so you can talk to the other team. For the longest time, Payton would ask in the post-game lobby, hey, does anybody believe in ghosts? And like 90% is like no answer, 5% is like, or 50% is no answer, 40% is no, or profanities and slurs.
Yeah.
But then this one guy was like, oh yeah, I believe in ghosts.
Oh, that was on the raceway.
It was. I'm so glad you remember that. And he like went into this whole story about how he like watched. Yeah, he watched somebody get exorcised.
Yeah,
like he watched somebody be directly, like actively infested demonically and got exorcised. It was like crazy. Anyways, everybody has a thought about it. A lot of people have stories about it. It's intriguing. It's different.
Not everybody decides to go and investigate it. And that's why it's so interesting.
Yeah, because like
that's interesting.
Our video has 2,000 views, which is a lot, but it's not a lot.
You.
Right. I'm gonna go scare one.
Oh my!
2,000 views. There has not been 2,000 people that have gone to the Sallie House. Maybe.
Yeah. Who knows?
But like Sam and Colby's video of the Sallie House has millions of views, probably close to 10 million views. 10 million people have not gone to the Sallie House. I think it's under 10. Their Conjuring video has maybe like 20 something.
I'm about to fact check you so hard right now.
Yes.
Oh, 1 squishy versus 5 diamonds. It's Rocket League.
Their Conjuring House is their most viewed video. I think it has.
Sallie House is 12 million.
12 million. Okay. Conjuring.
I don't know. I got to click on the thing here. You keep talking about your point.
My point was just reinforcing your point of like people are interested in this, but they don't go out and do it themselves. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you know what I mean. You're the one that freaking brought it up in the first place.
The first one is 26 million.
26 million views. That's crazy. And only probably 2,000 people. Definitely far less have gone to the Conjuring House, but to the Sallie House, there's not.
Sallie House is open to the public essentially if you just
right
reserve a spot.
Right. But in the grand scheme of people that are interested in this stuff, they've not gone there.
Yeah. So when you hear about it,
and if they've gone there, they probably haven't investigated it privately like we have, because they host public tours and stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go to those things. But
so I think this is kind of where it gets maybe a little weird. Leading up, I might have had like one or two like dreams, just like from reading the book in my head. I've had like thoughts about the Sallie House. Like in my dream, I would like see a little girl or something. But like afterward, I remember having many dreams like about the Sallie House. Maybe not exactly the imagery of the Sallie House, but like in whatever dream world I'm like in the Sallie House. And like it's there. And I'm not some like psychiatrist, dreamologist. I don't know what you would call it.
You got it.
I'm not.
That's so condescending. I'm sorry.
You got it. You got it. I'm no expert in dreams and how the brain works, but briefly after, my brain was thinking about it a lot. But then like after a while, like we did this last year.
April 30th, 2000.
So we're getting close to it being a year.
Almost 10 months. Really close to a year.
And like even just recently, I had a dream about it out of nowhere.
Less than a week ago.
It's like I haven't even, we didn't decide to like do this podcast over this until like a couple of days ago. And I think the dream might have triggered the thought of like, oh, we should talk about this. But like I hadn't like once thought about the Sallie House for a while. And then out of nowhere, I have a dream where like I'm just like being watched. And I'll wake up and I'll stare at this book and make sure it's in the same spot. And like, it just kind of like messes with you a little bit. Like this place is still subconsciously like sort of messed with me a little bit. And I think that's kind of odd. I don't think I'm being like attacked necessarily. And I don't think anything's like attached to me or something. Because like the only thing that's ever happened is me having a dream about it. And then I had another dream where we were at the Crescent Hotel.
Did you tell me about that?
I think I mentioned like something else that happened, and I don't even know if it was, but like in the dream it was. And I was there with like a bunch of like college kids that I didn't know, and like I just had a room booked, but like weird stuff was going on. It was weird, but that was another night. But yeah, I've had a few dreams about the Sallie House, and it's kind of messed with me some. And I remember you one time talking about out of nowhere getting out of the shower.
I'm so glad that you remember this.
You just out of nowhere, like, what if I just saw Sallie? And it was like months after.
Yeah, it was during the fall. So like it was, a while ago and a while after the video where like, I don't even know for how long, but for several days, I would not think about Sallie. I would not think about the Sallie House for like at all. And then after I would take a shower, I would grab the dandle of the horror. What? Whoops.
Oh my gosh. Handle of the door. Dandle of the...
Redacted. I would grab the handle of the door, and like as soon as I'd open it, I would be like, my mind would just out of nowhere be like, what if I open the door and Sallie is standing right in front of me? Out of absolutely nowhere, I wouldn't be thinking about it at all. And I'd open the door and be like, what if I open this door and Sallie was directly in front of me? And like I'm sure I've had a dream about the Sallie House. I've had a lot of like really weird dreams since then.
I've also had a lot of weird dreams.
Which is par for the course, because it's something that we both think about a lot, and we, intentionally scare ourselves
to learn.
We unintentionally scare ourselves from intentionally watching scary stuff. So like our dreams are obviously influenced by that stuff. So we've had some weird dreams. I've had some really weird dreams. I think even last week I had a super weird dream. Jessica was like, "Hey, you were yelling last night."
I've had some that have like felt really like I've
out of body experience.
I'll wake up and I'll be like, that one was like weirder than just a scary dream. Like that one, like anyway.
But yeah, I'm sure I've had a dream specifically about the Sallie House, but I really haven't had dreams about the Sallie House except for that like 2 week span or whatever where I would just randomly think about like at night, turn a corner. Oh, what if Sallie's right there? And Sallie does not exist.
Exactly. Now, I think one final thing before we maybe close this out here. We also went to the Beatty Mansion, which you probably know about.
I forgot all about this. I even wrote it down.
Do you even have... What's your computer even open for at this point? Okay. I do have our mics here, and I'm making sure it's still going. So
close that one, and it shuts everything off.
I don't think we mentioned this in the video.
In
the Beatty Mansion video.
We did not.
This is
because
still
we
relevant.
wanted it to be separate.
This is still relevant. We'll dive into that when we talk about the Beatty Mansion, but I think it's worth mentioning here because the Sallie House... I want to talk
about it a lot here, yes.
The Sallie House is mentioned for a reason, but St. Joseph, Missouri brought back some weird emotions for how similar it was to Atchison, Kansas. Wow. But going to that mansion, you go up a hill with houses on the left and right and like brick road.
Brick road, yep.
And like, we literally, like it hit us like, whoa, this is just like Atchison. This is just like the Sallie House. Like I fully expected to see the freaking tree and Sallie House. And we like whipped around and like went and parked and just like took time to be like, what in the world is going on? Like this is like the exact same. Wasn't that the very next place we went to? It was the next investigation.
That's another one of those things that maybe like thinking about it now, looking back, that's probably the oddest headspace I've ever been in, because we didn't have any nerves. Essentially,
I never thought about that house.
No, I was pumped. I was like, oh sweet, we're going to this mansion. It's huge. It's old. It's gonna be super cool. I got scared after the tour because the tour is crazy.
Yeah,
which I can't wait to talk about that. But like going into it, I was like, man, this is cool. We're just doing another investigation. It's gonna be sick. And then yeah, St. Joe is geographically very similar to Atchison. I mean, they're built around the same time. They were built for the same reasons. They were running by the same. The towns were running by the same types of people. They're like 20 minutes apart.
Yeah, they're really close.
Like, and I didn't think about that either until all this stuff came up. But it's like, yeah, you're the drive up to the Beatty Mansion, brick road, house on either side. The Missouri River's right there. There's a bridge right there. Downtown St. Joe. Like literally everything is just a mirror image from Atchison. And even thinking now about it, that was such a weird feeling. I wish we were recording or something. Maybe we were. I think we were. Because we were going to get B-roll of like driving up to the house.
I'll have to look.
It was just so strange how like immediately we were put into Atchison and thinking about the Sallie House. It really like, dude, it f***ed me up. For that, the rest of that night, I was toast because I was like, I couldn't stop thinking about the Sallie House the entire night. That really kind of ruined that night for me.
I know, you told me not to talk about it. You told me not to talk about it. I was like, oh, well, all right.
What do you mean?
I think you said something about how like, I don't want to talk about that house.
Oh, shoot. Okay,
I was going to say something about it and you're like, I don't want to talk about it. I was like, all right, I'm not going to talk about it. I think Mary Ann had a reaction too, and that also definitely played into it.
Yeah, so we'll talk about this obviously in another episode about the Beatty Mansion, but our host was a psychic medium. Her name was Mary Ann. I'm not going to do her the disrespect of trying to pronounce her last name right now. It's like Pedransky. I said I wasn't.
It's something like that, yeah.
Mary Ann, super awesome lady, super awesome host, doing all this work on the Beatty Mansion to restore it and bring attention to it and all that stuff. Keep the history. Very respectful to the energies in the house. Extremely respectful. Bless you, Carmichael. Snoring.
Mm-hmm.
He's like congested. Hey, buddy. No, he's not. He was 100% snoring with his
He
eyes
was.
Open. But yeah, at the end of our walkthrough of the house, we asked Mary Ann about the Sallie House because it was, just 20, 30 minutes away.
Instant mood change.
And I wish I would have watched that to get her specific words. She didn't like talking about the Sallie House her mood changed, and she we asked her if she's ever been there. Or no, because I was we asked her if there were any straight up downright bad juju.
And then
in
we
the
said
house.
the previous place we went to.
And then she said sometimes yes. And I was like, okay, that's a relief, because the last place we went to, and before I remember this, I was gonna say the last place we went to was very evil. So I'm glad to be in a place where it's not crazy evil. As soon as I said the last place, she said, "Where'd you go?"
Yeah.
And I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that now, because she knew I was gonna say the Sallie House. That just came into my head. But as soon as I said the last place we went to, she said, "Where'd you go?" And we said the Sallie House, and she was like,
yeah, and she was like,
she didn't.
She was like,
she
didn't like it at all.
She didn't complete a sentence talking about the Sallie House. I don't think there's anything wrong talking about this, but she said something along the lines of, she was talking about the Pickmans in particular. Did it do it?
No.
Okay. She was talking about the Pickmans in particular, and she said something along the lines of,
if
you're so far, if you're so Christian, you're so far one way, and you go so far the other way. That was really all she said.
She thought that they were the ones that. She basically said that she thought that they brought that demon.
They brought the demon into the house,
and now they're so Christian because they.
Yes, exactly. And I don't think this is disrespectful, because she didn't say any of this, and we're just inferring stuff. But she basically implied that the Pickmans are now so Christian because at one point in time they were so far not. Yeah, and possibly
she did say that.
She said that. What she didn't say was that the Pickmans brought in the demonic entity that is considered to be.
That's what she hinted at when she said.
Which is something that the medium in Sam and Colby's video about the Sallie House mentioned, about the satanic panic in the Midwest in the 70s or 80s or something like that. There's this big boom of, it's pretty self-explanatory, the satanic panic. Parents and families and households were worried because so many people were worshiping Satan at that time, and not even worshiping Satan, because that's not really, it's bad, but Satanists aren't. This is another non-factual generalization. Satanists aren't bad people. They're not demonic people. They just worship Satan.
Most people that are Satanists are, from my understanding, they are very much just about self.
Yes.
Self.
100%. Yes.
I want something, I'm going to do it myself. You're your own God kind of thing.
Right.
There are people who are Satanists, maybe.
It's the same thing with Christians. There's Christians and there's extremists that
there's people that
call themselves Christians, but the rest of Christianity is
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what book you've been reading.
That's not anywhere close to who Jesus Christ is, kind of thing. Yeah.
So the satanic panic was a thing, and that was, right at the tail end of that was when the Pickmans moved into that house. It was crazy seeing, after how weird we got from our mood changing, seeing her mood change when we asked her about the Sallie House is. Dude, the Sallie House it's a monster.
I just thought of this. I think I'm going to need closure with that place at some point. We're going to go back at some point.
We have to go back there.
Because
we need other people to come with us as well.
Yes. Seeing it for the first time and seeing kind of just, it's a weird place, then going there and then having it still to this day have an effect on me. Not necessarily in a negative way, but still...
It just festers.
It's still it's in my head. I feel like I need closure with it at some point. And by that, I just need to go there and be I don't know necessarily what, but it's messed with me some, and it's a weird place. It is scary, gross, smelling and feeling some, and scary. And scary. Dude, it's weird. And we captured some of it on video. And
we didn't not film for a lot that night.
Yeah, there was a lot of just sitting on the couch, just being like, what are we doing? And like, how are we supposed to feel about what's going on? Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much that we can like think about and talk about, but there's so much that there's not words to put to it, because it's really one of those things that you can't describe it to somebody who hasn't been there and experienced these things.
Yeah.
And again, like we've been saying the whole time, 10 months later, thinking about this stuff it festers. It lingers. Yeah, exactly.
Lingers like the legends of the blue hole. Do you have any other, like, did anything pop into your brain at all about the Sallie House that you'd want to say before we sign off here for our first episode?
I just really can't wait to go back. I can't wait to go to a bunch of other places before we go back. So we're better. We're just strictly, better at this stuff.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's all you're going to hear. My bad.
I'm really excited to go back. And even if we don't catch anything, like, you put it perfectly, you wordsmith, closure. If nothing happens the entire time, we go in the basement, we don't get one bad feeling, we don't get one blip off of anything, Spirit Box doesn't say anything to us in real time or in watch back time, sure, I'd be happy with it. I really want to go back.
I think I'm excited to go back because I feel like we'll be able to, I feel like we didn't know our limits and boundaries, and I feel like we kind of know where those are, and we're able to reach those and maybe push those.
Mm-hmm.
And once we go back, they're going to be at a good spot to where we can hopefully interact with whatever might be there in a safe way. Because gosh dang it, I'm sorry. I don't think we would have been able to do that there when we went, because it was the third place we went to.
We've definitely gotten a lot better, like you said, at setting boundaries, maybe pushing them, and also like reining them in. Like at the Sallie House, like our boundary was, okay, alone time. And then after what happened, we were able to be like, okay, the boundary is an hour ago. We're done.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, our boundary is also driving back at 4 a.m.
Oh,
on a 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
We learned stuff. And
we've grown.
We now know that if we're going to be driving back at 4 a.m., that we should be driving 20 minutes to a hotel or to our best friend Jack's house.
Oh, my Jack. Carmichael, say hi. Okay.
His mouth opened, but all you heard was like...
That was his claws, yeah. He tried to meow, but it didn't work.
Know your limits, Master Wayne.
Do we want to decide what we're going to talk about on the next podcast? Is it going to be the Beatty Mansion, or do you want to do Nearly Famous? What was the second video we posted? Was it Nearly Famous?
Yep.
Do we want to do that next?
Yeah, dude.
Oh. Well, you opened it, so I'll close it, and then I'll open the next one, and then you'll close the next one.
I already closed it.
Oh, you closed your laptop. Well, thank you guys for listening to episode 1 of Ghosts Aren't Real. That was a lot of thoughts about the Sallie House, and the next one of these, which I guess we'll figure out when that'll come out, will be about our trip to a haunted restaurant. I say haunted. Here in Springfield, Missouri, called Nearly Famous. We'll go into detail about that and our thoughts and experiences there.
He said haunted like this because ghosts aren't real.